Hey everybody, this video is going to be me going through the past winners of Ult Draft League with UDL 2026 starting up this week, unless I have my dates wrong. Uh, it is as good of a time as any to reflect on our previous winners because we should all be asking ourselves, how did these fuckers manage to win a chip and how do I do that? So this is going to be, I guess I'll just spoil this now. I don't think there's one secret formula necessarily, but I don't know. I guess here's how each of our previous winners did it. Let's start with UDL 2020 or SSBU CPU Season 1, as it was called at the time. I believe it was 2020. It might be 21. I might have my dates mixed up there. But anyways, H-Kun won here. This version of the league had no restrictions on who you could pick from tiers or whatnot. I believe there was a character count. I didn't see it on the sheet when I just looked up before starting this video. So anyways, you just stack your team with the most broken shit possible. Something interesting to look at, I do have the rounds each of these characters were picked in listed here. Ishkun has first three picks be Byleth, Deity, Terry for Final Smash Stamina and Singles, respectively. A little spoiler for later, trying to lock down your best Final Smash character first is very unusual among UDL winners here, but this is something that did work out in the first iteration. And I do bet that, also, sorry, I should also mention this. This is before custom balance or anything. So this is all on vanilla. So Byleth is like kind of the most broken guy in these settings regardless. Like no one can touch him in singles alone. And then his Final Smash is probably crazy. So, yeah, bunch of guys that are pretty much just broken on vanilla on this team. So there you go. Also, interestingly, H-Kun kind of waits on doubles here. This is something that we're going to see some mixed results on as we go through. But we have K-Rool and Hero, which probably is a pretty nasty team. But that Hero pick was able to sit on that pick. I was trying to think of something else, and it still didn't make grammatical sense, but it's fine. Hero was picked in round 8. So the doubles team wasn't even rounded out until like near the end of the draft, which is very interesting to think about nowadays with how in 2026 people are prioritizing doubles very highly for the most part. But things were different in this old meta. Also, Deity and Stamina, H-Code was high key ahead of the game on this one, so gotta give him some props on that. Okay, we move on to SSBU CPU Season 3, aka UDL 2022. The differences in the league going forward here were there was a tier system implemented, so you had to, again, no custom balance yet, but tiers were drafted based off of the vanilla tier list. You had to have someone from tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Does it sound familiar? But yeah, this is a pre-custom balance iteration of this. So everyone's rosters were in theory a little bit more balanced. Your winner was Koishi this year. You see some immediate differences going on here. Immediately, much more of an emphasis placed on doubles. The doubles team this year was Isabelle and Pikachu. It's weird to think about because Pikachu has just had very, very little presence in custom balance in general, aside from that 1 year in Stamina, and even then, he still wasn't the best, unfortunately. But yeah, Isabelle and Pikachu was the doubles team, and that's kind of a cornerstone for Koishi here. Deity locking down singles in round 2. This was something that I remember a lot of teams did this year. Like, they spent very early to try and get their singles character with their tier 1 and just like lock down singles, right? Singles was like tier 1 versus tier 1 quite often this year. So Deity was Koishi's choice there. And we see Diddy Kong here in Stamina, which is interesting because even with custom balance buffs, Diddy Kong isn't particularly good. But without buffs, definitely not good. There is sort of a thought here with the tiers in this season of like, there's some spots where you just gotta kind of give it up, right? And that thought process was kind of with Diddy. I think I remember this Diddy Kong stealing a couple wins in stamina. I'm not gonna lie, this is pretty early into like labbing out the stamina meta. No one really knew what was going on necessarily, but regardless, Diddy could pick up some wins, I believe. Snake here in round 5 in Final Smash with the nerf that he has now, essentially, because he went from +1 to 0 in FS after he got nerfed following, I believe that was 2023, but this is 22 in a non-custom balance meta, and, essentially a custom balance character is being thrown out there in FS, which is pretty wild to think about in hindsight. So, definitely a pretty good team. And, of course, this squad's team was just discussing with these three down here. Bowser Jr., Aegis Greninja. Aegis flexed in a lot of these other events as well, I remember. But squads ended up being pretty important this year, I recall. So pretty strong team there. And yeah, again, team building philosophy, the emphasis on doubles early on with picks. Who cares about stamina? Snake is your like mid-draft, sneaky, really good pick that probably should have gone earlier. This is something that's going to be a trend as we go forward. So that was 2022. Going into 2023, the big change here was the introduction of custom balance. And, well, two changes. The custom balance being introduced, first year of UDL with that implemented. And secondly, the bench. Notice how the first two teams did not have a bench here. The bench will be shown on these graphics going forward. And 23, as soon as all the balance changes were found for CB, your winner was Mike. This is, in my opinion, probably the most broken team we've ever seen in this league. You gotta give Mike props here because the most broken guys on this team, Rob in Final Smash got nerfed pretty hard after this season because of Mike, as long as some other people who had Rob in Final Smash. A round 7 pick. Me Brawler, who also got nerfed pretty hard after this season, and Stamina destroyed everybody. Literally a round 9 pick. A round that did not exist last year. And Dark Pit, who locked down singles, picked up in free agency. What are we doing, people? You want to talk about finding some gems that other people are overlooking? How about these three being like kind of your auto win core to start the match? All three of them are table scraps. Crazy stuff. And what that means is that this squad's lineup is just a joke. This is +1 Kirby before he got nerfed in squads. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? And me Gunners down here, too. Yoshi and Dark Samus in doubles. So, just a crazy team. I think this really opened a lot of people's eyes up to just how powerful trading in free agency really are, and secondly, I guess the importance of doing testing before the draft, because my goodness, the value that Mike got, I mean, if you're lucky, you're gonna get similar performances to Rob and Me Brawler here with like your first or second round pick, right? but meanwhile, Mike's throwing his round 1 pick in squads because that's just a bonus piece for him because he knew who was gonna be there late. So there you go. That was 2023. Moving on to 2024, the big difference here was just nerfing a bunch of characters. If I recall, other than that, generally the same rule set as 23. And this was H-Kun getting his second win. We had round 1 pick with Captain Falcon, uh, who I think it was after this year when he got nerfed in singles. So this was kind of Captain Falcon's last hurrah. We have Pichu here, who ended up being broken as hell once again. so, uh, so after a couple iterations of like not focusing so much on stamina, we have a Mii Brawler team winning and we have a Pichu team winning. Doubles, this is some nice value from H-Kun. Pretty nasty doubles team with not a crazy amount of draft investment. A big one for him in the playoffs, of course, was Steve, who was also taken relatively late for what we would consider, Steve FS's value to be now. But in contrast to 2020, when that first pick was locking down Final Smash, this time H-Kun waited a little bit, found some value in the middle of the draft, and yeah, Steve was definitely that guy there. So first 2 picks were nails. Both of them were probably like the best characters in those modes, so nailed the early rounds, got some value in the mid and late rounds, and then the result is bunch of bonus pieces in squads. Again, we have Shulk in squads. We have Bowser in squads. So, pretty crazy. If you can hit on these late round picks, kind of the same story as Mike. Tons of excess value in squads, which, helps in those tiebreaker situations that come up so often, especially in the playoffs. And then we move on to 2025, which was the salary cap season, of course. And as many of us remember, your winner there was Weeb. So, Weeb, I think it's quite interesting how much Weeb has in common with a lot of these other teams. So, first place that I jump is Aegis here, who is a round 4 pick, taken for $6. End up being the best stamina character. So 3 winners in a row had the best character in stamina, or at least top 2. And 3 teams in a row had late value picks in Final Smash to carry them throughout the playoffs. If everyone remembers this Duck Hunt taken near the end of the draft, a $2 pick. Stocks have definitely gone way up on Duck Hunt since then. And also, much like the previous 2 winners, putting some decent attention towards doubles here. This Cloud Sephiroth team was good for Weeb in the regular season in 2024. Regular season 2025, pretty iffy, but then turned it way on in the playoffs. And you can see a lot of capital invested in this team. The round 2 and round 3 picks, and making that bet did end up paying off in the end. And of course, the round 1 pick is Sora. You can kind of see the further we go along in this, and especially once we enter custom balance, singles is becoming increasingly, I don't want to say de-emphasized, but it's like less of a differentiator for these teams. Sora was definitely performed pretty well for Wii, but wasn't exactly tearing it up. But this middle section definitely was, which sort of makes up for it here. And once again, a solid enough squads team that held their own and didn't really throw things away. And very importantly, as many people will remember from last year, no filler. No filler on this team, which isn't relevant for the playoffs, of course, but throughout the regular season, filler was not having to be thrown out in any of these events. So, interesting stuff. We're seeing late value becoming quite important to a lot of these deep playoff runs from these winners in the last number of years. So, I guess the question is, who is the secret OP character from this year? The draft's already done. And I guess we won't know until the end of the summer. But that's just some food for thought there. Every champion needs the sneaky value late pick so that you can stack on top of your early picks that you know are already good. I guess that's the formula. That's your answer. Not really groundbreaking information, but fun. You know, when you look at your team, do you see yourself fitting in this formula? Who is your late round upside monster who's going to shock the world? Who are you going to pick up in free agency or by swinging a trade with someone? Anyways, so there you have it. Thank you for watching. Bye.